I'll give everyone the spiel in about 90 seconds or so. You know what's coming, don't you? We might be recording this.
Oh no.
And we might be telling you about some other sessions that are coming up soon. In fact, you probably could take a guess because that's exactly why we got the events page. Oh. And we've got all sorts of things. If you have a spare 5 minutes, then you can always go to the news section of the Maxon site, where we've got amongst other things, we've got a nice little post that I wrote that's just talking about some of the things that we've got going on this year. So you're already here, so you already know about all the wonderful things that we do. But just in case you're interested, we're talking about all sorts of different sessions that, like the color team, are running in February, so with shooting and solving your problems when you're grading, actually at the camera stage.
That's going to be cool.
Because we all know the best place to fix something is in post or on set. Before it happens. Yes, exactly. So there's more stuff about here, but this is the main page I wanted to show you all. Still stalling. We won't officially start until the top of the hour.
It feels like we already have, though.
I know, it's a soft start, isn't it?
Oh.
Great. Oh, we've got a bunch of people who are turning up now. This is fantastic. Lovely to see you all. This is great. So we can start now. It's officially the top of the hour. Great. So welcome back to Ask the Trainer. Surprise. So we have all our expert trainers here. Welcome, Max, Darren, Ellie, Matt, and Jonas. And we also have special guest Hashi Movie Dad.
Well, we will.
Who is joining us very kindly. Nice to see you here, Hashi.
I think he's
he's restarting. Okay, that's right.
He's working on his video cam, yeah.
Great. So just whilst you're here, we are recording this, and as usual, we will put the recording on our YouTube channel. So you can go to YouTube and just search for Maxon Training Team, and you'll find this. And we'll put links in the emails that follow up this webinar. But every time we do one of these sessions, we also include other information and links. So for example, in the volume builder sessions that we ran this in January, just click on those and you'll see the download links for some of the project files we've been working with. Same for Ask the Trainer 2 weeks ago now, where we put some of the files that we put together and we make those available for download. Great. So a couple of things that have come up. One is some questions coming in already. Thanks, Alexis. They've got some questions coming too. We wanted to pick up just to start on one of the questions that we didn't get time for last week, which was somebody was interested in the color workflows in the new version of Magic Bullet Lux 5, which can be you've now got the ability to have a wider color handling, especially in programs like Resolve. So Max, do you want to give us a few minutes just showing that workflow whilst we collect some more questions for this week?
I'd be very happy to, Simon. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes, we can. Yeah, I'm going to make you a presenter.
Perfect.
Check the screen over to you.
Show my screen. And can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Is it, can you see Resolve there?
Yes. Latista.
Okay, perfect. Latista, yes. Before I start, I have to say that this is the footage that we use for our November webinar. This is the footage from Chan Eduman and Andy Wenzel. Thank you very much for sharing the footage and let us use this short footage. As you pointed out, Simon, Magic Bullet Suite has just recently got a update. And just like any other software or plugins update, normally the one that's still the highlight is the new tools, right? But I would like to point out some small features. Actually, for me, it's a very killer features that I really like a lot in this update. This small feature is called the color handling, and it's easily got overlooked when you are in Magic Bullet Lux. Let me begin by showing you how to use Magic Bullet Lux in ACES workflow using the color handling. So when we are using ACES, ACES is actually very simple. You just need to define the input device transform, and then let ACES do the magic. And then after that, you need to tell ACES how do you want to output your footage. So in this case, to set ACES in DaVinci Resolve, we can, sorry, I have to put my notifications off from Microsoft Team. Right, so where was I? Setting up ACES in DaVinci Resolve. So yeah, in DaVinci Resolve, to set up ACES, you can simply just go to the project settings. You can open the project settings from the file menu and project settings, Shift 9, or you can just simply launch the project settings from the gear icon at the bottom over here. So once we are in the project settings, we can just go simply to color management and let DaVinci Resolve know that you want to work with ACES. Normally, the default will be the DaVinci YRGB. So you can just simply select ACES CCT when you want to grade. There are two different ACES here, ACES CC and ACES CCT. But normally when you want to color grade, you use the ACES CCT because this is the more color grading friendly options for that. And then after that, as I already said before, you just need to let DaVinci, let ACES know what is the input device transform for your timeline and how do you want to output the program. In this case, I want to output the program as Rec 709. You can also select Rec 2020 for your HDR program or any other. Well, I will stay with Rec 709 because that's the most, how do you call it, used. And you can just go on and press save. Oh yeah, actually you can also specify your input device transform in the project settings. If you know that your program was acquired with a single camera or one single renderer, you can just let ACES know that you use specific input device transform for that. But if you have like clips from a lot of different cameras and a lot of different renderers, I think this is the nice thing to set up the input device transform is in the timeline itself. So you can go to color page, and on your clip, you can just right click and select the ACES input transform. And since this is a CG render, I will select the ACES CG. And as you can see, the clip now looks awesome already. So in order to use Magic Bullet Looks in DaVinci Resolve, you can simply just open the OpenFX, type in looks over there like what I already did. And let me just reset the grade and drag and drop Magic Bullet Looks to one of your node. And you can just launch Magic Bullet Looks by pressing the edit look. And let's wait a little bit. There you go. Now, as you can see, we have the Magic Bullet Looks interface here. The color handling tools is actually these two tools, which is sandwiching the tool chain. And by using letting Magic Bullet Looks know that you want to work in ACES, and it will just works nicely with ACES workflow. So previously in Magic Bullet Looks 4, it seems like Magic Bullet Looks always putting out the footage into some sort of Rec 709 color space. Correct me if I'm wrong, Simon. That's why a lot of colorists was using Magic Bullet Looks right at the end of the tool chain, because it's outputting the footage into Rec 709. But now you can select your output and let Magic Bullet knows that you want to work in ACES. In this case, you can just select ACES CC, or you can just select same as input, and you can confirm that. Or if you're building looks, you can just like start building looks and just set your input and output as ACES, and you can just confirm that, and you got it running. So let me share the grade that I already done previously, just to speed things up. So for example, in this case, as you can see, I have Magic Bullet Looks right in the middle of the node. I have my, let me just turn off everything. So I have my balance node at the very beginning of the node tree, and I did my contrast and white balance, and I also used the Resolve glow effects. And then after that, I used the 3D pass, the multipass for the key lighting and then the rim lighting. And pretty much I use Magic Bullet looks right after that. And I clean up the blacks afterwards, and then the vignette and the renoiser. So the possibility is endless nowadays with the color handling. And what's nice is actually, if you color grade, normally you want to work fast. And with the new color handling, you can also do so by pairing Magic Bullet looks with Resolve Power Grade. In this case, if you already have Power Grade, if you are matching Magic, how do you call it? If you are importing, converting Magic Bullet looks presets as a Power Grade, you don't have to open Magic Bullet looks interface to access Magic Bullet presets. Like, for example, what I already done here. Let me load the same project, and let me just reset everything. So here I have Magic Bullet looks preset loaded as a power grade. It means that I can share all this grade throughout all the projects in Resolve. So by just hovering over onto this each thumbnails, I can see the preview right away in Resolve viewer without having, how do you call it, launch without the needs to launch Magic Bullet looks. So you kind of like, so you can kind of like shorten the workflow, and just by middle mouse button, by clicking middle mouse button, you can already see that the looks is now loaded into your node, and that is nice. Magic Bullet looks in ACES. And on top of that, let me show you another workflow when you want to work with another color managed workflow inside the Magic.
This could be interesting because Anderson has got a follow-up question about that. He says that this is awesome. Is this the same update as in After Effects? And yes, Magic Bullet Looks 5 is in After Effects as well as the other hosts in which it supports, which is a Premiere, of course, and Final Cut. I had a question also from, is this the same as in After Effects? Yes, it is, but also about the, here it is. So I'll bring it onto the right screen. Anderson is asking if Looks will sandwich ACES footage so you can preview the footage correctly in Looks. So it sounds from what you're saying, Max, then it can in this case, because you can mix it with other nodes, of course.
Yeah, it can. I mean, of course, if you are putting the, let me load the same project again.
Quick question from Peter: does it work in Fusion Studio? Not at the moment. It works in Resolve. So if it works in Fusion, if you've got Resolve and you're working in Fusion and Resolve, then it will work. But not actually in the standalone studio yet. And whilst Max is loading this, some of you who are regular viewers to our various channels may have heard the question asked: does Cinema work with ACES? And this, what Max has shown us actually is a nice little workaround, because he's showing footage that was then created from Cinema and Redshift, and how then you can work in an ACES workflow within Resolve. So don't worry, I haven't sidestepped that question. We are looking at it for Cinema as well, and it's been a very popular request.
So Anderson, make sure you use this button over here. It's called the sRGB preview. So if you don't use it, it's just outputting the ACES color space inside the Magic Bullet looks. But then since I'm outputting my footage into Rec 709 or sRGB, similar to sRGB, you can use the sRGB view here to get the same contrast level inside the Magic Bullet looks. What I found out is that if you have previous node, for example, if here I add some node before, And for example, let me just make something obvious, and I'll just put blue right on top of that. And it seems like Magic Bullet Looks is not picking up that. Oh no, I was wrong. Yeah. So yeah, there you go. So you can preview the prior nodes before the previous nodes before Magic Bullet Looks nodes. Well.
Excellent.
So as you can see here, yeah. And yeah, that was Magic Bullet Looks color handling in ACES. And let me show you one more thing that how do you call it? It's just like how to speed up your workflow when using color managed workflow. So for example, if you have what I want to show you actually is like the grouping of clips. As you can see in Resolve, when you haven't grouped your clips, you only have two node editor, two nodes editor, which is the clip node editor and then the timeline editor. But once you group your clips together, so for example here I have this clips groups together, you have the pre-clip group and then the post-clip group. It means that this node editor will be applied the pre-clip prior to the clip, and then the post-clip is after the clip. So you can actually use the pre-clip node editor for normalizing your footage, like when using the color chart, like what I have here, and it will affect the whole clip in your group. And then if you move to post-clip, you can then put Magic Bullet Looks in the post-clip group, and then it will affect all the clips in that group. So this is really a time saver. So if you work with a lot of clips in your program, this is the way to go in my opinion. And then in between that, you can just balance your clip in the clip level, like what I have here. So that was it.
Really nice stuff, Max. That's really interesting. It behoves me to say that we are running a whole series of these grading workflows in February, and Max is joining. We're joined with Max and also with Diego and Tony, who also did the previous sessions with us, who are two experts in the field too. So if you want more of this, and I appreciate, Max, that was like grading at 100 miles an hour. So thank you. It's really interesting to know those steps and to know it's possible.
One small thing that I want to add on top of that, if you are curious about ACES, please visit our YouTube channel, Maxon Training Team, and we have a webinar on November, and on that, and the last webinar on November, Diego goes like a miles about ACES, and I think it's a great resource to be visited.
I'm curious. I was actually going to ask you if any of the shots you have here are good examples to illustrate why ACES is a more desirable option to work in. Or is that covered?
Yes.
It is a method of future proofing, in my opinion.
That is a good, excellent question, Darren, and that's the answer is a series of 12 10-hour webinars. But the quick route is that it's a great way, as Max said, to actually future-proof something and get the same results from different sources, whether it's camera or film scans or VFX.
And especially having organizations like the Academy backing that up. It's already a huge thing.
Quick question on looks from Andreas, which is there some way to see an animated series of effects in looks rather than like, for example, keyframe agreed? And the quick answer to that is not in the current version, because we get this request quite a bit, because the way looks works is you do everything in one interface. And it was originally designed to pick out and do some secondary corrections as well, but also just originally designed to give that look or that treatment to your grade. But over time, as things have progressed, people are wanting to do more and more things in depth. And you can do more things in depth within looks and separate out different nodes, if you like, or different effects on the stack. But that specific question is that you can only keyframe the strength of it at the moment. And those that know that how I say things, you can read the tea leaves of that. But this, because it's such a popular request, that we're always looking at things like this. Great stuff, Max. We've got a couple of other questions in. Does anyone here have a preference? Would you like to jump in and answer one of these that we've got from the question list?
I've been so busy focusing on on Max that I haven't really seen any yet.
Well, there was one question, actually for me. Can Jonas take us through, in summary, how string constraints work? I think this one is about, spline dynamics, right?
Shall I stop sharing my screen?
I can also guide you through the steps, and you can show them if you want.
Nope.
Nope.
Should we check in with Hashi?
To be honest.
Yep, thanks. So here we go. Now you should see my screen. Can you see my screen, everybody?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Interesting. Okay, let me stop this.
There we go.
Now,
okay, it just took a while. Okay. I almost stopped it to restart it. Okay, so let me just create a spline with a little bit of subdivision, and I want to do that by creating a mospline and making it editable, because this will give me a spline with enough subdivision. Can you see that?
No, not
Is that
yet.
visible? Good enough?
I don't even see your cursor moving, actually.
We've just got untitled main. Is it?
Yeah,
is your screen
blank.
paused?
It looks paused. Oh, it's very slow.
Check. It's very slow. Why is that? Nobody's at home except me, so I should have the whole bandwidth here. Well, let me pause and start again.
Now I see some changes.
Yeah, there's an editable mospline in points mode.
Okay, and you can see me rotating here?
No.
Rotating the view?
No.
Oh, what's going on? Sorry for that, guys.
Do you want to try stopping and restarting the screen share? Maybe it just needs...
Yeah.
Or turning the camera off for bandwidth.
Yeah. Okay. So, can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Again? And can you see it
but
moving?
It's not live. No.
Nope.
One fix if you've got a lag like this is to log out of go to webinar and log back in. So if you want to do that, we could fill for you and answer another question or so. I think could just be down to the lag.
Yeah. Okay. Who wants to do something next?
Well, since we've got Hashi on the line, I was chatting to him earlier on, and he's got a really cool thing about some 8-bit workflows that he was working on recently. So Hashi, is it all right if I hand over the screen to you and you show us those things that you've been working on?
I think, can people hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. Just one moment, trying to get this, been having exciting webcam challenges this morning. Anyway, yeah, sorry you cannot see me. Let me see if I can
send the screen over to you and make you a presenter.
There we go.
So
show my screen.
Button now here to press, and we can see your second screen.
All right, let's see.
Now we've got the After Effects splash screen starting up.
Delightful. All right.
By the way, whilst this is starting up, we had another question from Moriko. earlier on about downloading one of, actually it was one of your projects. It was the Cheap Tricks project for Sonic, and opening up in the new version of Particular brings up an expression warning. So we're looking at this. I mentioned this on the question notes as well, but we think it might be something to do with the new version of Particular. So we're having a look at that, and we'll let you know.
Wonderful. I would guess that what happened is there's probably something that was a global variable before that is hard coded into one of the expressions, and it just incrementally got changed. Instead of, particular node number 58, it's now 69 or something. Yeah.
Got it.
Excellent. Can people see my screen?
Yes.
Lovely. This is a silly little project that I'm working on right now. It's a tutorial that should be coming out very soon. Sorry, I'm giving myself an echo by being on a couple devices here. Let's see. All right, there we go. Wonderful. So this was a silly experiment to make something that is normally good actually look less good, or more stylized, that is. So let me see if I can play what the final result of what I was working on here on screen.
I recognize this film.
Yeah, so a very silly thing, but my next tutorial is on trying to create 8-bit or 16-bit looking graphics out of your own video source. And so the project file I have underneath that was actually really, really simple. I was able to find this green screen clip of just this gentleman running in a suit, and was able to quickly punch him out with Primat Keyer, and then do some of these curves adjustments just to give him this beautiful unnatural tan, which matches up with this little sprite of Cary Grant's face. And then the process that I'm using feeds this character into a new low resolution comp. You can see the comps that I'm working in are 480 by 270, so very limited pixel number. And in fact, many gaming systems had fewer pixels than this, but this is sort of a stylization that is reminiscent of how pixelated something might end up being. But the way I've tried to reduce his palette is there are multiple ways to reduce the number of colors in After Effects, and the specific one that I'm using is the cartoon filter, which I just really like the option of the smoothness of the way it creates this kind of pixel art. And one of the unique things that I'm doing in almost every stage of this After Effects process is using these layer quality switches to tell my layer to be a low quality layer, which forces it into very sharp, distinct pixels instead of any sampling that it might try to do otherwise. So here it is with the good sampling on, but if I switch it to low quality, then you get these nice sharp pixels. So I'm combining the cartoon filter to make him look a little bit more like rasterized 8-bit artwork. And I'm also, here's what he looks like running at full speed based on that footage, which is a little bit too smooth for anything that you would see in a video game. So real simple, add some posterize time. And in fact, posterize is basically the hero of any 8-bit conversion process. Cartoon is basically doing a posterize process on the colors by dragging them all into one. And then I'm placing this little character sprite over into this comp, where I have taken a really simple background painting, or not painting, but source. This is a royalty-free image, which I love to use in all of my work. There are a few websites out there, PX here Redshift.com is a great one that has just a really wide variety of, let me see if I can pull it up. Yeah, just a really nice royalty-free site. Most of these are Creative Commons licenses, and a lot of them are labeled as no attribution required. So if you're getting started and you need something to work with or play with or start doing effects on, I think this is a great way to start. So in this case, I found this nice photo of a field, and the way I put it into my little video game is by adding a posterize effect, which reduces the color palette a bit. You can see that I'm, instead of all the smooth gradations, it's trying to force the actual image into little sections like this. And then I'm also desaturating it just a little bit, because it's more desaturated in the film even than this, but this worked all right. And again, you can see that low quality switch there. And then in here, it had a very simple animation to begin with. Oh, it looks like I converted it to a 3D layer. So it's just a 3D card pushing straight back with the anchor point right at that horizon. And then I'm putting Cary Grant right in front of it. And I also created a copy of him that I applied VFX shadow to. And what VFX shadow does is it gives you this really nice control over where to put a floor plane and which direction to project a shadow from it. And if you were doing this in a real composite, you could even then convert this to use a multiply blending mode or something like that. I actually went with just the solid color because I'm imagining the limitations of this imaginary gaming system couldn't handle it.
Didn't have blend modes in the gaming system.
Exactly. One of the other layers I have turned off right now is the adjustment layer above the background, and you can see the difference between when I turn this adjustment layer on and off, that it's forcing the background into even more distinct pixels. And the filter that I found really useful for this is one called CC Block Load. And that's a neat little filter that is meant to make it look like a screen is loading up in a 1990s era, like the web kind of movie. But what it does is it automatically creates 1x1 pixels at different scan numbers. So you can, it's very similar to Mosaic, but it always forces things to exact 1x1 squares. And you can do that with Mosaic too if you are dividing the comp by the numbers you apply to it as well. But I just like that you could.
Could you indulge me for a moment? Because there's that technique I've been using. I just wondered how it compared. Would you mind just applying AV Club from Universe onto the same effect that you were just using just there?
Perfect.
And so just like chuck on AV Club and then just go to source blocky at that second parameter, and it's right at the top there. And I've been using this one to just make those. I think you have to take it up to like 8 or more units until it begins to register. But I've been using.
Oh, whoops, my adjustment layer's off.
Okay. So I've been using that
nifty.
As a mechanism, because it's interesting, because AV Club is designed for doing this pages of text.
That's a very fun look.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it actually looks, it makes it look the way this video game would look on a television set, which is pretty great.
So then you're plugging your Amiga into your CRTV television circa 1998.
Lovely.
How far can you push that on the runner before we just sort of lose who he is?
Oh, let me see. Let's go back to the sprite. So right now, it's only that I'm putting him in a smaller comp of 480 by 270. But on top of that, if you used block load on him, you have to, by default, uncheck the start cleared, because what this really is this is what the filter is. So you basically animate a transition where it looks like something is loading up on the old web or something like that. But if we start at 0 completion, you can see that 4 scans this is a factor of 4, dividing the whole thing by square pixels. You could do 3, and this is it's kind of fun.
Ooh.
That's like classic like Sims blurred out character.
Point and click from the
I feel like I'm
90s.
playing Batman.
Oh yeah. So this is, honest to God, probably the resolution of many of your favorite sprites that you remember from video games, like, I don't know, like a Ninja Gaiden kind of game from that era. And like some of those guys are like 40 pixels big or 20 pixels big, and it still astounds me what our imaginations have filled in the meantime.
I want to go and play Shinobi now.
Oh, absolutely.
Question from Anderson about the cartoon effects using on the background. He's suggesting that could use cartoon EFX on the background.
Cartoon EFX, let me try that. Let me see. So I'm doing a weird pre-stylization before pixelating it in the other one, but let's see.
Also, someone was wondering if you prefer GPU acceleration or software only.
I absolutely switch back and forth between them depending on the project. I think that I almost always end up in CPU, even though I have a decent GPU for doing all of this work. I work on this cool box that Puget built for me. So I have a good GPU, but I've often found sometimes my desired look is just a little bit better with CPU. Whether it's just a weird shadow or aliasing or some kind of effect that I'm doing on top of it, because I like to stack up my plugins a lot, and sometimes
You're talking in terms of how After Effects interprets and stacks the layers, aren't you?
Yes, and I can't think of an example offhand, but I'll know that sometimes, depending on like the way my motion blur looks with GPU versus CPU, acceleration will be slightly different. And honestly, that the time difference has never been staggering in one direction or the other for me.
Okay.
Which is a luxury, I'm aware.
Sorry,
I computer functioning well enough.
Sorry, I totally interrupted the cartoon EFX.
No, this is great. This is exactly why we do this, so that we can kind of derail the conversation. It's perfect.
I love derailed conversations. So yeah, look. So here we got our even more pixely land view of this, which is kind of fun. Oh yes, and see, I forgot to turn these back on and get my sharp colors back in here.
Oh man, I'm digging that.
It's kind of fun.
It reminds me of the Pepsi Man game.
Oh man,
I gotta Google that.
Yeah, there's definitely a trade-off between at this point, the way the pixels, the dancing level of the pixels is pretty extreme, and I feel like that betrays what you could see in 8-bit land in the past.
This is so funny. I've worked on sports productions where this level of effectively you're recreating macro blocking wouldn't make it past the Harding test. The system would come back. There's something wrong with the footage.
Yes. Now let's see. I'll revert this really quickly. There is I feel like AV Club, even as a top level filter, would be really delightful. Oh wow, that's so crazy. If I blend the original in, if that looks too ghosty.
This color is a good one to pair with the source blocky. So it's about halfway down, just below Luminoise. No, it's as part of AV Club.
Oh, let's see, source fuzzy blocky.
If you drag quantized color to just the one below that. Really low settings, I think, work well.
Oh wow, yeah. So look at that. See, this is what my Atari my old Atari looks like when we plug it into through several connectors into an HD TV. Oh, that's fun. I did not play enough with this. There we go. That's a beautiful look. See, I would love to spend just a little time. This only took me, I mean, you basically saw the steps. There's very little information in here. There's also the sprite of the plane, which is barely anything at all. It's just this one propeller layer, a very pixelated look. And what's great about these, the pixelization is just it's so uniquely stylized. But yeah, this came together very quickly, and I would love to like create more levels and then do a review of this as a lost game or something like that, and see how many people you could fool with that.
That road is giving me pole position flashbacks.
Oh yeah. And you'll notice the low quality setting, it does a really interesting squashing and scaling effect compared to, I think if I turn this back on, whoops, that's the wrong layer. If I turn my quality switch on the background higher, oh, maybe some of it's coming from that. Yeah, you could get a result like this, which is beyond the capabilities of an old system, and you would know that that road looks too smooth, like it's being interpolated to some degree. But with the low quality switch on, you get this interesting scaling look. But anyway, I've talked about that for a while.
That's cool.
But yeah, a very fun process, and I'm excited to see what people are interested in doing with that.
Cool.
Did we lose Simon? Uh-oh.
Lost him. He's been
Well, he's still.
rezzed.
Oh no, I think we lost him.
Excellent.
He
We
ran
do whatever
off
we
to
want.
his After Effects. Let's see. We got a question about making random selection, a random polygon selection in Cinema 4D. Let's see. I'm happy to illustrate that. Did any of you want to pick that up?
No, you can absolutely do that.
Go ahead.
Let's show my screen, and let's see. Let's do
Yeah, I can see it.
hide webcams. Okay, so this is this Fred? No, Fred. This is one of the example scenes in the rendering folder in the content browser. It's Man by Infinite Realities, and I want to make a random selection of polygons without having to go in and go like control and then shift over here and then maybe change the size and zoom in and then control click click click, and the whole, well, that's not even working in just random places. We don't want to do that. So how can we do this, let's say procedurally? Well, we can actually use fields for this. Since fields were introduced, this has been an option. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and create, right now I have no poly selected, so I'm going to create a blank polygon selection tag. And I'm going to turn off the subdivision surface so we can really see that base mesh. And I'm going to, in this polygon selection tag, enable this use fields option. And now I can actually add a random field in here. So let's do that. I'm gonna there we go, random field. And let's take it out of the hierarchy there. And we have a tolerance, which is, the tolerance basically says, let's see, it'd be nice to see this noise here.
Yeah, you have to apply a material and restrict it to the selection, then you can see it.
Oh, I'm not going to be able to see it in the selection? So when I double clicked on that tag, then I saw it. So there's that. It's like a priority issue. Is that what's going on? Nah, I don't know. But we can see the random field there. And when I select the object and the polygon selection tag, I can see that selection, which is being created by that random field. Let's see if I put it child again. There we go. So now we can see both. So let's try this. Let's go into the random field and increase its scale. And we should end up with a more homogeneous, more patchy selection. So it looks very much the same, right? So let me hit A on my keyboard, same deal, double click on the tag and it updates. So what Jonas was suggesting was to create a new material here. I'm just gonna do a standard luminance material.
Yeah, I think this will update instantly.
Excellent. Really good suggestion for even if this is temporary, just for previewing. This is great. So now I can even go back to model mode and I can really focus on fiddling with this random field. So I can, play with its scale. Let's hide it. We can try different noises. Let's see, what the last one I was checking out was new to us, but this is just one field in here. So that is how I would create a random polygon selection. If I then wanted to save this so that it was independent of this, then what I would do is I would simply disable the use fields, and then I could just control click drag this over. And now I have this like backup copy, and I can call this random polys. And then I can go back to this other one and re-enable the use fields and tweak it and fiddle with it and everything.
Yeah, the cool thing is that because you're using fields in there, you can do much more stuff to the selection. For example, you can add like a spherical field and multiply it on top, for example, and then the random selection would only show up in the areas of the spherical field, or where the spherical field has its influence. So if you move it around now, you can see that the randomness only...
It's like revealing that previously randomized selection.
Exactly.
That's very
and
cool.
Also, what you can do by using the formula field is you could, for example, select every nth polygon or like 5 polygons, and then leave out the next 5 polygons based on the polygon index, for example.
Oh man, you're pushing me, man. with formulas. Let's see.
Formulas are fun.
They are fun, but I always have to look them up. Every time I need a formula, I always have to go and look it up. I never just know which one. Oops. Because it's not my thing. So what were you saying with the formula?
Yeah, set the blending mode to normal, and just now hit play just to see what happens. I mean, that's really crazy, but you can, of course, adjust the formula. And if you would just type in some modulo function, like divide the polygon index by 3, and then it would just show every third polygon. So if you type in,
so ID/index and delete everything previous to it?
delete everything and then type in mod for modulo. Then parentheses, ID semicolon.
Index?
No,
I'm not sure.
Just ID
my syntax
semicolon.
is all wrong. I'm gonna pass it to you.
Let's see if it works. Yeah.
Formula. Jonas, make presenter. Yes.
So let's see if it works now. Can you see my screen?
I can see your screen. I just want to say to Anders, who's asking, does it work with points? Yes, it does work with points. It's in the tag. So if you have a point selection tag, then same deal, enable, use fields, and you're good to go.
What was that man again? Yeah, let's use this one. Go. Can you see my screen updating?
Yes.
Whew.
Yep. And your mouse is moving and everything.
Perfect. I can be happy again. Hey, and Hashi made his.
Now we can see Hashi and Simon back.
Yay!
Yeah. So let's just create a polygon selection here, and here we go. Set selection, and here we've got the polygon selection, and we use fields. And what I also want to do is, as Darren did, just create a luminance material and apply it to the head as well, and restrict it to the selection. So here we go. That's our polygon that we just selected. And now in the polygon selection, I already ticked use fields, and I'm gonna delete the freeze field and instead bring up the formula field. And now the formula for selecting every nth polygon would be mod for modulo, and modulo is working with the reminders of dividing a number by another number. And then I would use the polygon ID. What you have to know and to understand is that every single polygon, every single point, every single edge is coming with a unique ID. And you can divide that by 3. So the syntax is modulo, then I don't know, is it called parentheses, or what is the name for these guys? Or is it brackets?
I don't know.
You don't know, yeah. Okay, so that's basically it. And if you then just type in equals 0, this would divide every polygon index by 3. And if the remainder is 0, it will select the polygon. And this is the result of it.
That's very cool.
Get rid of the camera. And you can do that also with, let's say, yeah, select every 10th polygon. Or you can also say if it's bigger than 4, then it would select sequences. 5 would be selected, 5 would be deselected, and then selected again, and so on. So you can create really cool stuff with that.
So I was working on this project like a while ago where I needed I needed a random selection, but I did not want a neighboring polygon to be selected. So it was just one polygon, and any polygon connected to it could not also be selected, but it was random. So that's, and I don't think I ever found a solution for it.
So yeah, the thing is that this is based on polygon index. So if the polygon index is completely random, this would also be really random. But yeah, if you do the same on a cube, for example, where you have the polygon index like in a real grid, you would see the effect much better.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, maybe let me go to the question I initially wanted to answer before.
There's a question from Joel here. Yeah, it's about selecting every horizontal edge using fields. Would that be related to this?
Ooh.
Yeah, but that's not possible with fields, because fields can read the polygon index, and you cannot like tell fields to select a neighboring polygon of the polygon you're selecting in horizontal or vertical direction. That's not possible. So the whole thing is index based here. And if you want a selection to be vertical or horizontal, you would have to create a loop selection by using like linear fields and so on, but that wouldn't be as accurate as I assume you would like to have it.
It sounds like he's going for like a ring selection or an edge loop. And yeah, there's specific tools for that. Not fields don't do that functionality.
Yeah. Now let me quickly show the spline dynamics workflow here, because that was actually the first question that I wanted to answer. And first of all, if you have a spline, and I already subdivided it, well, actually I just created a Mo spline and made it editable, which creates the spline with a lot of points. And then you right click the spline and go to hair tags, spline dynamics. So now the spline is dynamic, and once I press play, the whole thing will fall down. But now what we can do is we can select certain points here and pin them to their current position or to another object. So let's create another object, and I want to use a plane here. Let me bring the width, oh no, the width down to 10, and we're gonna bring up the height again and do something like this and place it up here and also make it editable. So now we have like a little strip of polygons here, and we can select the Mo spline again, and then we create a tag which is also in the hair tags, and it's called hair constraint. And if we add the hair constraint, we can add or link an object. This should be, well, this point on the spline should be constrained to. So I add the plane here and click set, and now you can see that this has already been set. So there is an indicator. This yellow line shows that the point here is now fixed onto this point on the plane. And if I hit play now, you can see the spline falling down, and but it's still constrained here. And we can do the same, let's say, with the last one, with the last point here on the spline. So let's select this one, and I want to create another one of these tags, hair constraint. And now I'm also gonna use the plane here again, click set. It's always gonna use the closest point to the surface here. And now I can make that spline fall down, but it's gonna be constrained here on the left and on the right. Now, if I select the two, or also if I just select one of them, I can, first of all, change the influence here. So if I bring down the influence, everything will fall down here because there's zero influence of that constraint. And when I bring it up to 100 again, then it's up here again. And I can also bring down the offset to 0, and then we have 0 offset, and we can make it bigger and whatnot. And then the last point here is that we can use influence maps. So we can actually define which point on the surface here that we're constraining the spline to has which, or how much influence onto the spline or the spline constraint. So let me just select a point here, and let's press V to bring up this global menu here, and I'm gonna create a selection. So we set the selection, and we're again going to use fields on it. Well, that was not correct. I don't want to use a selection, actually. I want to use a vertex map. So let's create a vertex map instead. Set vertex weight. Yes, okay, 100% is good. Then use fields on the vertex map, and instead use the random field to create random weights on the vertices here. And then let me introduce a little bit more contrast here. So I'm going to set the contour mode to curve and adjust this line preset to linear, and then I'm going to bring these 2 points closer together, and this way I'm going to create like this vertex map. We can also make it a little bit bigger, so, and make it animate, let's say 50%, that's good. And then we select the spline constraints here again and input the vertex map here in the influence map field, like so. And now if I hit play, this is what happens. You can see that sometimes the influence is a little bit less here on this one. Maybe we should make this a little bit stronger or adjust the mapping. Let me go down to the curve settings and just move it to the right. Then it's falling down. Let's place it somewhere here.
And if you enabled the rigid option, then you just lose all of that, right? It like
the rigid option. You mean in the Spline Dynamics tag?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. It's in here, right? Oh yeah. No, it's there. But here you can see that based on the influence here in the map, whenever it's yellow, the spline is really constrained to that part of the geometry. And as soon as it's orange or red, the influence is less. And this way you can create really cool animations actually. So yeah, that's how spline constraints work.
It's like one stitch that's come out.
Yeah.
So you could grow that with a series of them, and you could have like, you could pull a thread and have the stitches come out one after the, after the other. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything else?
Really cool. I mean, that will probably, in fact, that has brought us up to time, given the top of the hour.
Oh yeah, I finished in time.
Yes, perfectly. As we've said before, a trainer finishes exactly when they mean to. They are never late.
Yeah.
Anderson said, Velcro.
Yes. So I'm going to make me the presenter, if that's all right.
Yes, of course.
Show this. Here we are. Cool. So at risk of initiating meeting bingo, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yep, excellent. So this is great stuff. Thank you. Yes, you have to see that Velcro. Brilliant. Thank you all for joining us on this journey. This is fun, isn't it? This is nice to see the inside out workings of workflows.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really challenging because if you never touch the feature, you have to make a tutorial out of it in like 10 minutes or 5 minutes in the background, and it works.
I think it's called just-in-time training.
Yes.
Exactly. So thank you, everyone. Thanks, Darren, Lee, Matt, Max, and thank you also, Hashi, for joining us on this session. We'd love to have you back at some point if you'd be willing to join us. That was fascinating seeing your workflows.
Absolutely, I'd love to. I'd love to join when all my I'm bad with technology, yeah, as I'm known for. So yeah, would love to join again.
Well, considering I started the meeting 7 minutes early by mistake, I think you're not unique in that area. Cool. So we'll post this recording as per usual on the Maxon Training Team site on YouTube. Please have a look at that. Probably up in about 90 minutes or so. And also, please please come along to Lionel's sessions on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday next week, where he's going to be investigating, designing fantasy titles using Cinema and Redshift, and then comping them all together using SuperComp, and also a bit of X particles on the way. So that's an interesting 3 days.
Oh my God,
Tuesday,
I'm so
Wednesday,
excited
Thursday
for
at
that.
9 a.m. Pacific. Yeah.
Sorry.
Lionel always gets the most amazing comments on his recordings. So, and the one recently for his 32-bit compositing was, this should be the textbook tutorial that everyone has to go to.
It is.
Wow.
Really excited for that. And also on next Monday, Monday, 1st of February, it's a new month. So we have a new topic, and we're diving into shooting for the grade. And so Max and Diego and Tony will be joining us to run through solving problems before you've actually pressed record on the camera. How about that? Solving grading problems. And all sorts of interesting things. Pairing lenses to sensors, using lens metadata to grade faster, as well as more stuff about how you can work with wider color gamuts. So that's going to be really interesting. And we're joined by Canon and Sigma over the next 4 weeks. So that's going to be loads of fun. Brilliant. So thank you, everyone. And thanks for attending. Thanks for all your questions. Please feel free to keep sending them in, training@maxon.net. And we'll see you on the next one of these.
All right.
Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone. Bye.
Take it easy. Stay safe.
Thanks again. Bye.
Bye, Ashi.
Bye-bye.
Bye.